everyone, and thank you for hopping on and joining us for the first, what's going to be a 6-part series talking about apprenticeship. Today, we're fortunate enough to have author of Job U, Nick Wyman, join us, and Nick's got some great insight on apprenticeship and workforce development. So he is going to walk us through his thoughts and share all the tidbits of knowledge. So Nick, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Kim. It's great to see you.
See you.
So why don't we dive straight into it? So I think we live in unprecedented times, Kim, that the world has recovering from this period of economic uncertainty as companies are thinking about who it is they might want to employ. And it really creates an opportunity for a lot of people who, through COVID, were either out of work or unemployed or underemployed, who are looking at ways to enter the workforce, not just in a job, but we're talking about careers. So what we're going to talk about for the next 15 minutes or so is we're going to talk about a way that you can earn and learn. In fact, it's one of the Western world's oldest forms of occupational learning called apprenticeship, something you know plenty about.
I know a ton. But excellent. I could learn more.
Sorry?
I could learn more.
Well, what I thought is we might dive into, I've done some research and, I've got a couple of slides that I'd like to, talk to. And it really sets the scene for somebody at any age, at any stage, looking to find themselves a successful and rewarding career. And I'm saying that again, Kim, underlining the word career. This isn't just a job. This isn't some dead-end minimum hour job, shuffling boxes on a production line. This is a job whereas you learn an occupation, you get to learn on and off the job. So you get classroom instruction, but you actually spend the majority of your time in a real world workplace. And that's something that's incredible about apprenticeship. And across the US, when I first started working with apprenticeship in the US over a decade ago, there was literally just a few 100,000 apprentices, mainly in building construction. But if we now look fast forward to 2021 and National Apprenticeship Week, we're getting close to 1 million apprentices across the country. And it's not just building construction. It's not a television show from the former president. Apprenticeship is actually something that is recognised internationally. And occupations can be in health, medical, IT, but particularly automotive. Automotive is a sector going through incredible change, impacted by globalization, technological change, electrification of vehicles, changing needs of consumers. There's all sorts of forces that are creating opportunities within the automotive sector. So we might skew the conversation in that direction today. So let's dive into a few slides, and then at the end we'll have some time for questions. And if anyone's got questions, they can put them in chat and you can read them out. And I'll answer them if they sound pretty good. Good questions. Fantastic. So really, we're talking about this idea of if you're going places, you need to pack the right stuff. And there's a misconception out there that the only successful and rewarding careers are actually with a 4-year college pathway. Now, there's absolutely no reason that someone shouldn't go to college if they know that's what they want to do. art and say, which one of these attributes describes you? We surveyed employers, and this is a list of attributes that they said were important to them when looking at taking on a new hire. And I'm sure for people who are listening and have tuned in today or looking at this at a later stage, you need to look at this list and you need to say, what are some attributes that I can bring to an employer? Now, if we look at a few, Kim, what are a couple that stand out to you on this?
Oh, I would say sense of humor and
Well, I was the way you clicked that slide forward, I was going to say fast learner. You obviously read that to move forward. So we'll give you fast learner as well.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean to click, but yeah, sense of humor stands out, and obviously because I can laugh at that mistake there. But I like adaptable. I like adaptable. I think you've got to be able to change and keep up with things even as they don't make sense at the time, but let them marinate.
Right. So I deliberately said that to you because, you have to have a sense of humor. You have to be able to adapt to change. We clicked ahead in the slides and, you've got to be an attentive listener, hardworking, driven, self-starter. It doesn't matter if you don't need to have every single one of these attributes. There are a few on here that Kim I describe as a showstopper. Employers want people who are trustworthy.
Yeah.
And employers want to hire people who are reliable. If your communication skills aren't perfect or you're not a clear speaker, these are things that can be worked on throughout your apprenticeship. We really want people to be curious. It's important, though, you keep promises and you're really motivated. But things like professionalism, what does that mean? These are things that you're going to learn through this on and off the job experience. So really good list there. And I think that if people look and grab a few of those words and say, hey, I never realized that I am a person who is a real self-starter. I love to jump out of bed in the morning and say, hey, I am going to learn something new today. If you take these attributes to an employer and start talking about you're a person who's got great integrity, you've got a sense of humor, you're open to learning, someone will absolutely give you an opportunity. You need to be resilient. We're living in this incredible period of economic upheaval. And as we head into the North American winter, there could be COVID surges. People may be back to online learning. There could be more restrictions. There could be external influences, international instability. We could sit here, Kim, and list hour after hour all these things that may happen this year. But what people need to have is to go into this with resilience. You need to be able to adapt to change, and you need to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to give any opportunity that I consider for myself, I'm going to give that a red hot go. I'm really going to give it everything I can. And if a little hurdle comes up, be resilient, take the feedback, learn, and move on. I think that's really, really important. And if I was going to give some advice to, a person considering taking on an apprenticeship, probably being resilient is really important in this new uncertain economic period we're all finding ourselves moving into. Learning never ends. One fantastic thing about apprenticeship is that it really teaches you about the power of lifelong learning. And the more people that I meet in business and industry, they have a hunger for learning new things. So as an apprentice, when you complete your certification, that doesn't mean you're finished learning because, of course, the technical skills that you're going to learn are going to constantly change. We've seen this change with the electrification of vehicles. And what people are learning now may very well change in the next 2 or 3 or 5 years. And all that's happened through COVID is that the pace of learning and change has accelerated. Some people say 10 years of technological change have happened in a 10-week period during COVID. So people need to adapt to that change. And if you need to go and rebrush and refresh your skills, once you've got this apprenticeship qualification, you can take on additional certifications. It depends on where your role may take you. You might one day decide to take a role in a managerial position within an automotive business, And somebody who's come from an automotive technician background would be highly desirable because, people who run automotive stores are looking for people who understand every aspect of the business. And the service and workshops are a very, very key piece of the automotive industry and automotive businesses moving forward. So with that, Kim, maybe we might throw open to a couple of questions. I know we're sort of coming to the end of our time together. Have you got any questions or from people who were listening in?
Let's see. One thing that I do want to ask, first of all, thank you. Great information. And I think we're shining a light on apprenticeship where this is relatively new. So what would you consider the questions to ask for, we talk about school leavers, someone who's facing that path of, do I take the path to college? Do I take a path of apprenticeship? Or do I find a job and make this work? What questions should they ask themselves and of an apprenticeship opportunity if it arises to know it's the right path? What should they look for?
Well, there's a very technical term that an academic told me. I'm not an academic, but they use the word equifinality. And it means that you can get to the same endpoint by taking a different route. So if we're talking about automotive engineering, you can absolutely become an automotive engineer by going to a 2-year or even a 4-year college. And so you could have, minimum of 4 years study. But at the end of that time, you could find yourself in a role that you could get to by undertaking an apprenticeship. So you can actually earn and learn and actually understand the technical side. And I would say that employers' preferences, particularly as people progress in their careers, lean towards people who have a technical background. And I mentioned Switzerland before. In Switzerland, apprenticeships are actually more sought after than college pathways. So it's actually colleges are actually the consolation prize, whereas in the United States for many years it's been the other way round. And I think that people shouldn't sweat the small stuff. I mean, you can always go back to study. You can study as a mature age student, and there's an opportunity there because a lot of employers will actually pay for your executive education. So an apprenticeship is a fantastic way not to be shackled by student debt. I mean, it's really important that whatever you do, you keep on learning. So you've really got this pathway. Should I just have classroom only, or should I undertake a program which is some classroom, some online, and some experiential hands-on learning? Now, for myself, the last thing I wanted to do when I left high school was go and sit in another classroom. I don't know how many years of high school I completed, but quite a few. That's a joke, Kim. I almost finished high school. But I think it's really important. It's really important for people to weigh up these options, but there is no wrong pathway. But one of the things about apprenticeship is that it is highly regarded. It really is a viable pathway. And I think that people should look at that as one of the many options that people should get into. And quite often parents are concerned that it might be a less important or a less prestigious. If you look at people from history, Henry Ford, if you look at people in history, fashion designers, all sorts of people who started their careers as apprentices in this idea of earning and learning. Even think about a surgeon. A surgeon doesn't learn how to become a surgeon, from reading a book. Someone actually stands next to them and shows them. It's this idea of learning by doing.
Right.
I don't think anyone wants that surgeon, to give you a bit of knee surgery the first time out. No one wants that person, right? You want the person who's worked with someone experienced by learning the mastery of a trade or an occupation. So to all the young surgeons out there, I hope they are getting some coaching and mentoring. And so I think to answer your question, weighing up options is really, really important. I think that you should look at the alternatives, talk to organisations and really understand opportunities that are out there. And I think it's this understanding, this idea of being paid to learn is just incredible, and the power of apprenticeship.
It's definitely practical. And I think that's the feedback I hear most is how practical is it? A great question that came in kind of on the reverse side. How do you implement apprenticeships into your business?
Right. So if you're saying if I was an employer.
Right.
So I think the first thing is that employers are really struggling to attract retain and develop people. Some employers took what I'll describe as a short range view, that they simply put an ad up and people will apply, and they don't offer a lot of training and a lot of career pathways and potential. But I think a lot of employees are starting to push back post-COVID. So employers need to take a long-range view, and they need to establish workforce programs, structured workforce programs. You need to, particularly if working with young people, you need to incorporate mentoring. There's all sorts of things that can take your investment in a grassroots training program and turn that into a proper investment for your business. And there's ways to protect that investment. So mentoring is absolutely a key. I've always got to give my book a plug. So I did write a book called Job U several years ago, which would be probably more suited for employers. I mean, if anybody's listening, so if there's employers and educators, I'll make sure I send some over to your office and you could distribute those. So if people reached out to you, or they could purchase a copy on Amazon. But I'll also make some copies available. And that really talks about options for employers. It really talks about why the need, the history of apprenticeship, and why people should consider a career pathway as an apprentice, and why employers should consider hiring an apprentice.
Awesome. And I did get mine, Nick, and it's right there. Look, it's even been read, and there is a lot of great info in there. And it definitely helped me understand the path of apprenticeship as well. I know we're running up on our time here, so I do want to get this last question that someone put in. How can someone learn more about apprenticeship opportunities, and what about the automotive industry? We would love to be that network for folks. We have excellent connections here at AAG, so you can send any interest to recruitky@aagamerica.com. And also, the DOL has a great access to apprenticeship opportunities in your area. So if you research apprenticeship online and you look at the Department of Labor, there's definitely some resources there as well. Nick, do you have any other input on that?
No, I think that's a great point. I think that if people do research, and as I said, you need to look at credible. If you're looking at apprenticeship, there are some well-meaning programs out there. They're apprenticeship-like, but they're not apprenticeship. If you're going to do an apprenticeship, you want a nationally recognised qualification. You want to find a program that's registered with the Department of Labor. It ensures the quality. It ensures the standards. It really is going to protect your learning experience. So I think have a look around, see some of the activities and events like this that happen throughout National Apprenticeship Week. And for employers and employers and employees and educators, give apprenticeship a go. Do some research, look into it, and thanks for the opportunity to talk to you all this afternoon.
Yeah, we loved having you, and thank you for your insight, and thanks everyone for hopping on. Again, we're going to do several of these. We're going to dive in not just into apprenticeship, but the industry that we're in. So we're going to look at all the opportunities, the future of workforce development, and join us here. We'll send out a calendar on our Facebook. You can also visit us on our website, aagamerica.com. And we appreciate everyone joining us. And for anyone looking for those opportunities for apprenticeship, please connect with us here at AAG. We have available opportunities now to get you out there and get your education started. And we are here to help. We want you to get started in a stable, secure industry. So thanks again for everyone joining us. Mr. Wyman, thank you. Best of luck. Enjoy that California weather.
Well, indeed. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks. Have a great day, everyone.